There's only one way you succeed long term. Anybody can get lucky, do something for a period of time, but real success in any measure whatsoever comes when you do more for others than anybody else. There's no other way to do it. You find a way to add more what? Value. And if we find the way to add more value, we can be superior in the marketplace, but we can also be superior in our own lives. We can enjoy our lives at a different level. We can have a different set of pride that isn't fake. It's not ego. Ego is when you try to make it better than it is, and you know the truth is it's not. But when you really are in a position, when you're in a position where you own what you're about, and you know what you're here to deliver, and you deliver it on a significant scale, then you have an opportunity to really experience not only success, but fulfillment.
I've never found anyone who said no or hung up the phone when I called. I just asked. And when people ask me, I try to be as responsive, to pay that debt of gratitude back. Most people never pick up the phone and call. Most people never ask. And that's what separates sometimes the people that do things from the people that just dream about them. You gotta act. And you've got to be willing to fail. You've got to be willing to crash and burn, with people on the phone, with starting a company, with whatever. If you're afraid of failing, you won't get very far.
Came out of college and I went through a couple jobs and I started buying and selling real estate. I grew up in the real estate business. Mom and Dad were in the real estate business, and I was good at it. And starting from nothing, by the time I was 26 years old, I had about $4 million worth of real estate. A little over $1 million net worth. In my best year ever in that business, I made $250,000 cash taxable income one year. That's $20,000 a month. I don't know where you grew up, the neighborhood I grew up in, that's known as rich. I was having so much fun. And here's what's weird. I do everything backwards, y'all. I didn't grow up in church, and I met Jesus on the way up. Most people meet him on the way down. Most people, point of crisis is evangelism, right? Not me. I'm driving the Jaguar, everything's going good, but I can't get it to work in my head. And I went to a business conference, and this guy said, you got to have God in your life to succeed. And I came home and told my wife we were going to church, and she said, who are you, and what have you done with my husband? So we started going to church, and I met God.
The rule number 3, don't be afraid to fail. Anything I've ever attempted, I was always willing to fail. You can't always win, but don't be afraid of making decisions. You can't be paralyzed by fear of failure, or you will never push yourself. You keep pushing because you believe in yourself and in your vision. And you know that it's the right thing to do, and success will come. So don't be afraid to fail.
26 years old, our bank that we owed $1,200,000 to got sold to another bank. I know that never happens in your town. And they looked down, they said, a kid 26 years old owes us over $1 million. Let's limit this relationship, which is banker talk for ruin his life. And they called our notes. I had 6 months to come up with over $1 million. And the second largest lender, another bank, $800,000 owed to them, heard I was in trouble because I was in trouble. And it gets out in the town, doesn't it? They're not supposed to talk about it, but they do. And they called another $800,000. So that $2 million due. It's all tied up in real estate. And we spent the next 2.5 years of our life losing everything we owned. We were foreclosed on. We were sued. We were sued so many times, the guy with the sheriff's department that brings the little lawsuit papers, we're like on a first name basis with him. Sharon's making him cookies. Come on in, Harold.
In the beginning of a relationship, when you're totally in love with someone, what will you do for them? Tell me, what will you do? Oh, come on, guys. What will you do when you're totally in love? Shout out, what will you do? What? What? So when you have the meaning that this is the beginning of the relationship and this person's the most incredible thing, and you will do what for them? What will you do? Anything. What if you were that way with your client? What if you're that way with your internal customers? Because your partners, you go, well, if you have real sexual problems with HR, that would be a real challenge. But if your commitment was the same, when you're in that place, you do anything in the beginning of a relationship. In the beginning of a relationship, if your partner said, would you take out the trash? What do you say? Take out the trash. Happily. But after about 7 days or 7 weeks or 7 months or 7 years or 70 years, one day someone said, would you take out the trash? I go, what do I look like, your janitor? What happened to our passion? I'll give you a clue. If you want a relationship to last, if you think it's coming to the end, do what you did in the beginning and there won't be an end. Because when you think it's the beginning, you behave differently than the end. The meaning we associate to things controls our entire lives.
First one, you have to have a budget. You have to write it down on paper, on purpose, before the month begins. Every dollar has a mission. Every dollar has a name. Not sort of, kind of in my head. Not it's on my iPhone app. Write it down on paper, on purpose, before the month begins. Every dollar has a name, and if you're married, you agree on that with your spouse. Jesus said, don't build a tower without first counting the cost, lest you get halfway up and you're unable to finish, and all who see you begin to mock you and say, this man began to build and was unable to finish. There's another Christian that can't pay his bills. Listen, if you're not going to drive it right, don't put a fish on the back of it. Halfway doing stuff, and I'm a Christian. I'm doing stupid things. I'm jumping off a cliff and going, God catch me. And I call that faith, and he goes, no, you're dumb, you can't fly. There's a cause and effect thing going on here. Write it down. If you manage money for a company called You Incorporated, and you manage money for You Incorporated the way you manage money for you now, would you fire you? Don't answer that. My friend Zig Ziglar used to say, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. John Maxwell says a budget is people telling their money what to do instead of wondering where it went.